Kevin Stefanski today was asked about the rep split and whether Shedeur Sanders was getting any reps with the first team.
No. I mean, with a young quarterback with Dillon starting, you want to make sure he gets a lot of the reps. Different when you have a veteran like Joe, but still getting reps in a bunch of periods.
Now, the reason why I think this is a real conversation for a lot of people is Dillon was getting first-team reps in camp. The only time Shedeur got first-team reps in camp was, I believe, the first preseason game. I didn't even get first-team reps ahead of his preseason debut with the Cleveland Browns. So, and then, of course, during the regular season when Joe was starting, Dillon was still getting, I would say, a little bit more first-team reps than you would expect from a backup quarterback. So just to starting here, I guess we'll ask, like, how much does it matter to you when you hear Shedeur isn't getting starter reps yet?
It might surprise you. It doesn't really bother me. Like, even the amount that Dillon was getting was around, like, I don't know, 10% is what people have guesstimated around there. And, like, for me, Shedeur is not going to be made or broke by 10% of reps that he gets in any sort of situation. Like, I mean, does it stink for Shedeur? Maybe a little bit, but I just don't think this is going to impact him in any sort of large way.
I think the only thing I could say is one of the biggest bits of noise around this team that they've created is Dillon's gotten every opportunity since the start of camp. No matter how good or bad he was, Shedeur, at least when we were able to see him, aced every single opportunity he was given until that final preseason game with limited opportunities. I think this is only going to feed the narrative that the Browns are doing as much humanly possible to get, to make Dillon look good, and they're not doing that with what is now their backup quarterback.
Well, and I do wonder if this changes at some point, if their feelings change on Dillon Gabriel. Maybe this is one of the things we have to look for to see if the tide is starting to turn. Like, in many ways, I've already suggested look towards what some of the beat reporters are saying and when they talk about Shedeur, but this could be another area where we look and say, oh, they are getting tired of Dillon, aren't they? Now all of a sudden Shedeur is getting 10% of the backup reps, but it truthfully, at the end of the day, does not bother me that he's not getting these.
I just think, listen, the question we start with is obviously, does it matter? And really, it's how much does it matter? I think a lot of this stuff in how they're treating both quarterbacks are really important things to have on the record. For then, like, Dillon's getting all the reps, and then I'm not impressed with what I'm seeing. You know what I mean? Like, that's... Guy, because I think that would be a fair excuse. If right now Shedeur was getting even 10% of the first team reps, I would go, oh, it kind of makes sense. Dillon, that the offense is still pared down, that Dillon is still a work in progress. He's a third-round pick. He's a rookie, and hey, he's not even getting 100% of the reps in the full first team reps. But you don't have that. Like, he's looking meh at best, and he's getting 100% of the reps. And there's one other thing here.
Yeah.
And this is, we probably should feel this way about most teams. The truth is, I don't trust them. Like, the Browns, like every NFL team, are susceptible to biases and internal narratives and groupthink, and they haven't proven to me one way or another that they can handle the development of a quarterback. So when I hear, like, Shedeur's not getting any first-team reps, you should naturally be cynical on that, whether it pisses you off or whether it doesn't, simply because the latest quarterback that I have to judge them off their development, as of right now, my biggest gripe with the first 3 games is I have not seen him get better in 3 games.
I know, but what this speaks to, and again, it does not bother me in any sort of large way, but what it does speak to is they continue to put all of the eggs in the Dillon Gabriel basket. And they have not been shy about that in any sort of way. And that's it's not surprising to me. No part of this is surprising because, not to go Darryl Ryder on everyone, but it's not surprising because this is how they've treated Dillon the entire time. He's always gotten the favorite child treatment, the golden child treatment, and that's okay. They've decided to do that. But to what you're saying, then you have to be right about this guy, and he's got to be better than what you've seen. And again, like, do I think Shedeur, when he wins the job eventually, is going to turn around and be like, oh, thank goodness I had those 10% of reps as the back? No, I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. That's why I'm not losing my mind over it.
I think a little bit over a long time does make a big difference, though. especially if you're not a first-round quarterback. No, if you're just a rookie.
I mean,
and
I'd
you're
like
in a
to see
position
him
to play.
I'd like to see him have the opportunity to go through some of those reps just from the speed component to it all. I think there's an obvious advantage to that. It's going to be better than him just sitting on the sidelines. But again, this speaks to them putting all their eggs in the Dillon Gabriel basket with the idea that they think it's more valuable for Dillon to get all of them, and they just don't have enough reps to be able to do this all day.
Yeah, but I think the risk reward, and again, I buy the logic that Kevin Stefanski's using. I think we're just kind of talking around this idea and how they should be preparing both quarterbacks going forward. And again, at the kernel of that is a lack of trust with, and it's not just the Browns. Teams screw this crap up all the time, no matter whether it's a first rounder or a sixth rounder. It's really hard to get right, just by nature of you're playing with mercury with a young quarterback anyways. To me, it's risk reward. So this goes back to, I haven't seen Dillon get better in the 3 weeks I've watched him play. I'm sure there are nuanced points that film junkies like Coach Riz can give us, Coach Reisland can give us, that maybe he can rebut. But in terms of his performance, in terms of the eye test, I've not seen him get better. So the reward is the more reps you give Dillon Gabriel, the better Dillon Gabriel should likely be. The risk is, if Dillon gets banged up in this game and Shedeur has to go out there, he's still a developmental player that now all of a sudden could have used those reps. And it's not even like, I think you're spot on to say, hey, I'd love to get these reps for the speed, because ones versus two, there's a different speed there, right?
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. It's just familiarity. Part of the hardest thing about so much of football, especially on offense, it's about chemistry. It's about communication. It's about knowing each other in a nonverbal way. One of the reasons why I think the offensive line has been so bad is continuity breeds success on your offensive line, because you learn each other. And communication is incredibly important
even just with the receivers. I'm sure you heard Mahomes' comment in the past couple days. It was like, how did you know Rashee Rice was going to be at that spot at that given moment? It's like, you're a magician. He's like, I'm not a magician. I just know Rashee because I've dealt with him enough, and I know where he's going to be because I know how he thinks. There was no magic happened there. I've just thrown enough passes to him. And there is value and stuff like that. There is. I don't know that he gets that in 10% of plays on a Wednesday. I don't know that happens.
Yeah, but I think you get more.
Well, I mean,
because you have to. It's a library. You build it over time.
Again, they are favoring Dillon Gabriel, so no part of this is going to be any sort of surprise to anybody that's been paying attention to this, because this is what they care about is Dillon's success. They've clearly never cared about Shedeur's success the same way they've cared about Dillon's success. So it's just another example of that.
Yeah, but I think this comes back to the idea of, you can look at that and go, it probably shouldn't be that way. Again, I'm not a Shedeur mark. I'm not a Dillon mark. I'm hey, both of these are what I think to be scratch-off lottery tickets. And now that if Shedeur was the third string, if Joe Flacco was still the backup, I don't know I'd really feel one bit away about this. But Shedeur is one snap away from getting out there.
I think I'd feel more enraged if it was Flacco, because Flacco. So the idea with Dillon is that Dillon needs as many reps as he can get, and he currently is the starter. Joe doesn't need every rep in the world.
No. I mean, if Joe is your backup. If Joe is your backup.
I meant like as Joe's the starter, then they should have been doing what they did with Dillon the entire time.
But like, when I look at this from Shedeur's side of thing, it's like, how to build that library of understanding the players around you on an offense that is already wildly compromised of talent. The reason why it matters is, all right, if you're building, let's say, 10% of snaps every Wednesday or 10% of snaps a week with the ones, and you go 7 weeks, well, that's a butt ton of snaps that now you're going to have to replicate that in game. And it is really hard to build that solely in a game as your first exposure to the ones. Like, there should be no difference to how, I know there are biases in the NFL. I do. But there should be no difference how you treat Dillon Gabriel to Shedeur Sanders, because they're closer in how they should be linked in terms of where they were drafted than certainly if we were talking about their first pick overall right now.
But this is one of the hard parts of when you have your rookie quarterback and your backup quarterback both be your first string and your second string both be rookies. Like this is one of the hard parts about that. And like I've asked so many people in the past couple weeks, should this be something that I get enraged about? Should this be something that I really feel deeply about one way or another? And every football person, including Ross, we had Ross down at 220. They just continue to hammer home that if I go down that road, I'm making too big of a deal about basically backup quarterback reps and the 10%. And this is just how the rest of the NFL does it. My argument has always been, well, the NFL gets things wrong all the time. Doesn't mean they're right about it. You can upset the apple cart. But I understand if a coach says, Dillon's not there, we need to get Dillon as many reps as possible because he's the current starter. And for Shedeur, you're just in a tough spot. It is what it is.
With love and respect to all those analysts, those same analysts, if Shedeur was not prepared, would then go, why doesn't he look prepared? Yeah?
Well, I mean, that is going to be the response. In turn, that's going to be the response. I don't want to speak for any of these people. I'm not sure. We'd have to ask them ourselves. I think the logical response to that would be something along the lines of like, well, the 10% isn't, I know you're talking about the library and building the catalog, but they would just argue that the 10% is more valuable to Dillon at this moment in time as your starter than what it would be to Shedeur, especially since Shedeur may never even see the field this year.
216-474-0092. Shedeur Sanders is not getting starter reps. Should he be getting first-team reps? Yeah, I think if we were talking about like he was taking first-team reps away from Cam Ward, maybe I'd feel different. It's a late third rounder and mid fifth round quarterback. When we get into the importance of their talent, importance of them making it for the Browns, I view them in the same light. They're the same damn guy. I think we should be judging that with importance, especially because I just think Shedeur could use those more because Dillon's been getting the first team reps since camp. I think that's the other thing. It's like Shedeur wasn't getting them then. Hadn't gotten them since, which again is understandable. Get it. I actually think it would be more valuable to Shedeur from that standpoint. Dillon's been getting them. This is just familiarity with Dillon, right? With Shedeur, I'm about to go full Aladdin here, a whole new world.
They continue to tell anybody that will pay attention that he's not ready and he needs more reps and he needs more this and he needs more that. And so if they're thinking the way that you're suggesting, they had a really funny way of showing it to people.
I think it's really interesting, too, because when we start to have these conversations, I get that the Shedeur, Dillon conversations, I get these things can be a little tiring to folks. I'll also say, like, we're talking about the current and the future of the Browns quarterback position. It might feel like the stakes are low because it's a third and a fifth round pick, right? When I told Ken to do his job yesterday and then immediately walked it back, my point is...
We don't have the audio clip of that, Mac?
We should argue about Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur the way we did
your job, Ken.
Tyrod Taylor versus Baker Mayfield. Like, the stakes are still the same here. The stakes are, do we have anybody that can stabilize the quarterback position and maybe even be a bridge starter, even if that's to the first-round pick next year? And so I think this does matter a great deal. It might seem immaterial talking about 10% of the snaps. We're talking about the development of two young quarterbacks who, by virtue of your putting, 10 more games in, that does matter. It does matter to the dudes on the field. It does matter to those guys and their chances to succeed.
And it also showcases who they continue to invest in. I mean, that's the part for myself. It showcases what areas of this team and who in particular they continue to invest their time and their resources in. If you have 100% of snaps, right now they're saying, Dillon Gabriel, you're the only one we care about. And it just is what it is.